on Monday, the 16th of March, 2026, 6:30. So a meeting online. And the item number 1 on the agenda, as it is with all the Borough Council meetings, is questions from members of the public. Have we any members of the public that have sent to us questions or are here now to ask questions? So we haven't got anybody. And are there any members of the council then, following on from that, who wish to ask questions, if any?
Lucy.
Normally Lucy asks for a couple, but... Oh, sorry. Lucy, you have your hand up. I assume it's something that's not on the agenda later. Far away.
It is, yeah. It's just a question, talking with a colleague, thinking about scope 2 and 3 emissions from council-owned commercial buildings and what sort of progress there is on this.
Do you want to put that on the future work programme? Would that be
yes,
the way to get your answer, or do you want a proper written answer for that sort of thing now?
It could go on the work programme, and Paul's not here, is he? So he would be the person I think probably most likely to answer. Yeah, but I think it would be worth putting on the work programme at very least. Yeah.
Although Alison has heard the question, would you do me a favour and raise it again when we get to the work programme at the end to make sure it's actually put onto the work programme for the future? Okay. Have we any other questions from members of the public or members of the council? Splendid. Have we got any apologies for absence? Item 2.
I haven't received any apologies, no.
Natasha can't make it. She's got a really bad headache. Natasha Hollidge.
Okay. Right. Item 3, to confirm the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 2nd of February. Copy enclosed. Well, I had a quick glance. They don't look too horrible. Has anybody got any comments about the minutes? Overwhelmingly, everybody's kept silent. Is there anything anybody wants to change on the older minutes? Right, we'll take those as read and I'll sign them when I see Alison next. Item number 4 is disclosure of land, local or community interests. We all use energy, but I assume we don't have to declare an interest. We all live next to the river, all that sort of stuff. So that being said, I don't think there's much, or something might change. Are there any local or discretionary pecuniary interests to declare in the business of this meeting tonight? Keeping in mind, we all live next to the river and yes, and use services. So, okay. Right, item number 5 is the community energy pathways. Now, community energy pathways to receive a presentation from the representative of community energy pathways. And we were just talking earlier. So over to you if you want to lead away and tell us all about it.
Can I share
welcome to Hilda, who has turned up. So good evening, Hilda. And just in time for the community energy partnerships to do. Are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, is that okay?
Seems fine to me.
And you all see that. Let me just.
And they got, is that a King's Award? Wow.
Can you see it as a, are you seeing it as a thing or are you seeing it with all the next notes bit?
With all the notes.
It's like having your knickers showing, isn't it? Right, let me see if I can
I have to be honest, I wouldn't know.
bear with, let me just see if I can get it because I've got a monitor and sometimes that makes it a bit awkward. I don't think it's not going to do it, is it?
That looks lovely. Nice picture.
It doesn't matter.
Hang on a second. I don't know how to. Hang on. Let me just try again. See if I can get the normal.
If you put it on slideshow from the first one, would that work?
Yeah, I'm trying, but it was there we go.
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. I'm here actually because my colleague Kelly, who is the expert in Bedfordshire's community energy scene, she's on holiday. So I'm afraid you've got me. And just for a bit of intro, I'm a project manager at Community Energy Pathways. I've been building capacity in Essex. So we've got lots of lovely new baby groups in Essex who are going great guns. And I'm also a founder member of Buckinghamshire Community Energy. So do sometimes cross over with your groups in Bedfordshire because for abutting counties. But I'm going to just talk to you, and hopefully you may or may not have had time to look at the presentation, but does everybody know what community energy is already? Or shall I?
Do you want to give us a little potted one? I was just thinking for the minutes, actually. There's lots of people read and listen to this minutes.
Fair
it'd
enough.
be nice
Okay.
to just a very quick one.
All right. So community energy is basically where communities come together to take control of energy generation. It's also become galvanizing the community to reduce their energy use at home. It started in the times of the feed-in tariff, and lots of people thought, oh, we should have solar panels owned by the community rather than just letting all the commercial developers have it. And as a result of the feed-in tariff being very generous, a lot of those early community energy groups have community benefit funds, which they then use to give grants or do energy related good works in their communities. Modern community energy groups that don't have the benefit of feed-in tariffs have had to be very entrepreneurial and clever and find different ways of helping communities to take control of their energy. But it basically means, it can have lots of different forms. It could be an EV car club, it could be solar on your community centre, it could be shared ownership in a solar farm, it could be just an energy efficiency service funded by grants. So it takes all different forms, and it's formed by the people that come together and do the group. Ideally, they consult with their community and find out what's most needed. But very often, as I'm sure you're all aware, that quite often you're reliant on volunteers. So it can sometimes be what interests the volunteers who are doing it. It basically is also about raising awareness of local-led action on climate change. It's a very practical response. It enables people to feel like they have a little bit of control over it. And it enables them to build and invest in their renewable energy so that the returns come back into the community, both to the investors and also to the people who are receiving cheaper energy and making savings. So, for example, on a school, they'll save on their energy bills, which means they have more money to put into teaching assistants, for example. And it's about offering skills and training and job opportunities. So if we get grants, we can sometimes pay people. So, for example, in Bedfordshire, you've got some groups that are already doing energy efficiency, and through funding, they've been able to actually employ energy champions. So that's and in other cases, larger, older groups have got project managers, development managers, and they've created local supply chains, like with asset management and solar installers maintaining their kit. So the Community Energy Pathways vision is that we want to see every district, borough, or unitary authority benefiting from at least one community energy group. What we've learned, post feed-in tariff, is that it's really better to have groups holding a bigger space, because then you get economies of scale and you don't need as many volunteers. So the old days of having like a village hall with that had its own community energy group is not so viable these days. So they tend to have portfolios. So they might have some secondary schools and a small primary school to make the projects viable. But Community Energy Pathways basically wants to support communities to develop these projects by providing expertise and encouragement. Sometimes it's a question of confidence. Others have gone before you. This is a road you can travel. Ordinary people like you have done this before. So and we've got experienced community energy people who are board members, who have delivered projects, and we just help people and hopefully encourage and inspire them to do whatever's relevant for their community. So we've worked with lots of different councils, including Surrey, Essex, Suffolk, Hampshire, and some smaller ones like Winchester and Lewis. We get funding from the Net Zero Hubs and from UKPN and Southern Gas, Scotia Gas Networks, and anywhere that really kind of, lots of people have fuel poverty or energy efficiency, or they have feasibility studies, or in the cases of councils, it's about building that capacity, as indeed has happened in central Bedfordshire. So our reach, we've got over 50 community energy groups that we've built up. Some of them get going and then fizzle out, and that's just a function of the kind of voluntary the voluntary energy that's needed at the beginning. But a lot of our groups, we now have learned, what is the kind of mix in the team that's needed, what kind of pipeline do they need to encourage them and keep them excited about it. And we've been lucky enough to get a lot of grant funding for our energy advice, which we've then filtered out to groups to enable them. So Buckinghamshire Community Energy was one of those, and I've now got a team of 15 energy champions. They're part-time and they range in age from 15 to 71, and I'm super proud of them, but it would not have been possible without Community Energy Pathways getting that big lump of funding and then dispersing it to different groups and doing all the training and all the vetting and all the providing of the templates, and anything that we didn't have, it was there in that central repository. So it's been, Community Energy Pathways has been a huge asset and a resource in the Southeast, and has done some brilliant work. So the kind of community energy sector support that we offer, it can be community energy strategy. So that could be for the local authority developing a community energy strategy, which then enables you to get that through either through a decision paper or a motion, and identify where to get funding. And with GB Energy now, I mean, I know your council is a little bit strapped for cash, as many are, but we're hoping that local authorities will be able to really get into the GB Energy funding, partnering with community energy groups, because the kind of government really likes partnerships. But we had this kind of transition from the RCEF where local authorities couldn't apply for some of the funding we could get, and we couldn't apply for the Shared Prosperity Fund. So I think really the best of all outcomes for everyone is where we can partner together and run projects together, and get the resource that the councils need to do more. So community energy strategy is one thing that we can support with, whether that's in the powering up or powering down or both. So on your assets, as well as if you've got fuel poverty objectives or economic development objectives, then energy can be a part of those. We do capacity building. So as we've done in Central Beds, we've helped these four groups, one in Luton and three in Central Beds, to develop and get incorporated and get a team together and get some projects in the pipeline, some of which are in your area. And then there's energy planning. So that might be the LEAPs, local area energy plans. Clearly, I've got a dyslexic colleague that's written LEAP, but it's also about doing we can do quite granular energy planning that could be a parish level, for example, and get the community excited. What could happen? Could we have a wind turbine? Could we have a solar farm? Or just could we do more to encourage our community? And also, what does that look like if we've got a data centre coming in or a housing development? What's the impact on our energy system, and how is that going to impact residents who already live there, who are on the same substation? So all of that stuff is things that communities just haven't thought about in the past, and now it's really affecting everybody because of the electrification, and the grid is creaking in some places. And then powering down and powering up. Powering down is about energy efficiency advice. So mobilizing energy champions, paying or not paying, depending on whether the grant funding is available. And powering up is those kind of traditional community energy projects like solar on schools, or we do support groups that are applying for feasibility studies. Some heat networks, could be low carbon transport as well. But a lot of groups start with powering down because it's easier to institute and cheaper. You don't need as much money to get it going, and it builds community engagement. And then when you've got a big project, then people are ready to talk to you. So, basically, Community Energy Pathways started in Sussex and in Lewes with Ovesco, and it partners. Our groups within the Pathways network are BESCO, Ovesco, Energize Sussex Coast, Brighton Energy Co-op, and they are all mature groups. They've all got projects from commercial rooftops to schools to some farm solar as well. So we've got lots of experience in our network that we can tap into, and we do lots of training and support in that. So take whatever that is, whether that's, you might have somebody who's a renewable energy engineer who knows a lot about the technological side, but it's about making sure the team has all the skills to run a community business. So there's just some numbers there, but there's quite a lot of big numbers, which is super cool. But we've been slogging away at this for quite a long time. So has anybody got any questions? Do feel free to jump in if you want. Just pop your hand up and I'll answer that. So the service works. Basically, we team up with councils with funding from the council, ideally, to help create these low carbon and renewable energy groups. It usually starts with like an introduction to community energy event somewhere. We might get 5 people, we might get 20 people, we might get 30 people, but there'll usually be a few people in there who are genuinely interested in taking it forward, and the council can then support those people to grow into a group, to get incorporated, to understand what's needed to run a group. And then the council ideally can provide rooftops that you can't afford to put solar on, but you want to because you need to decarbonize your assets. That's where the real kind of co-benefits come. And we support the community energy groups with training, sometimes just with encouragement and confidence, as I said earlier. But it's also about understanding what the urban communities are different to rural communities, and some are harder to get through to others than others are. So if there's a really good climate network already, like a transition or any kind of sustainable whatever, that's often a really good place to start, because those people might have people within their networks who want to do energy, but so far it's all been bees and biodiversity. So because we know what to look for and how to stimulate the growth and bring people together, that kind of shortcuts it so it doesn't happen slowly and organically. It gets a bit of a catalyst and a nudge. Community Energy People is over £1 million that we got from the National Lottery, and we've used that to fund these various groups, and we've been able to fund them to get project managers, paid staff, because what we know, and I'm sure all of you in your different with different hats on, you probably all do other volunteering, and you know how volunteers come and go, and how the success or failure of a project can depend on 1 or 2 volunteers. And if they have a family crisis or need to look after a grandchild or decide to go on a cruise, sometimes these endeavors can fail. So this is about sustainable building up of businesses so that they have paid staff who drive it forward around a kind of universe of volunteers. And we wanted to try and get also as much solar or other sustainable sources of income for the energy groups, so that they're sustainable without grant funding and without council funding, so they can benefit your council objectives but without needing funding. But often that needs that injection of funding up front to to pay people to really make stuff happen, and then hopefully you've got sustainable income after that. So as you can see, there's River Ivel, which is one of our central beds groups, and they've built up a really good partnership with Green Sands, and I'll come on to it. I've forgotten the name of it right now, but they've got the 3 groups. They kind of have combined to offer their energy efficiency service, and they've used Community Energy People funding to pay staff to get that going, because most of their directors are actually still working age, so they're pretty busy in their daily lives. So Central Bedfordshire has 3 groups, lots of directors, 4 employees, and they got £150,000 worth of funding from that community energy people, and also they had UKPN funding for energy efficiency. So that's really cool. You know, that's really it's been very encouraging to see how they've grown. They're very professional. Actually, I've got, so there's Buzz, oh yeah, Buzz Community Energy, of course. So these are all working people that are or they're very busy with kind of other voluntary things, but they're really dynamic, all three groups. So they just need that bit of funding to kind of give them people to do the grunt work. But you know, so they've got 6 directors and lovely branding, and I do occasionally come across them because some of our area is really close to Leighton Buzzard. We've got River Ivel Community Energy. They've got I think they're the ones that are talking. Oh, I can't remember, but one of the groups is talking to you guys about the police headquarters, and I think there's also another project. I'm really sorry that Kelly's not here, but I think there's a project to do with some kind of commercial rooftop as well. And they are all involved as well in the Sheer Hatch shared ownership kind of prospecting. Oh, and she's not included Green Sands. There's another one called Green Sands who are also involved in the Sheer Hatch project, which is shared ownership, with the idea being it's a commercial development that the community could have 10% ownership. So they'd have to raise a lot of money, but it would give them an income that would then keep them going. So there's quite a lot of dynamism there. But and I think the conversation, if I'm not speaking out of turn, the conversation is about getting these existing groups to maybe cover other areas in Bedfordshire, including Bedford, including your area. So you wouldn't necessarily need to start up your own community energy group, but the idea would be that you would work with these groups and support them by offering rooftop assets and partnering on grant funding applications. So that's kind of it, a very whistle-stop tour with lots and lots of information. Does anybody have any questions that hopefully I will be able to answer? Lucy and then Hilda.
Hi, Lucy.
Thanks, Kirsty. It's really inspiring what's going on elsewhere in Central Beds, and we need to be a part of it. So you sort of suggested that powering down is the best way to start. Is that how the other groups in Bed start? I know River Ivel, for example, they do a lot of community energy advice. I see them on Facebook. They were at this weekend, I saw them at some event. Is that how they all started, by powering down?
Yeah, I think so. Not necessarily by choice, but just because it's easier to get. It's got lower startup costs, and it's less complex. But they wouldn't have been able to do it probably without our funding. They were doing it sort of on a voluntary basis, but it was the funding that kind of gave them the impetus, because then you can fund the freebies and the radiator foil, and you know, you can get your website started and you can get your logo sorted and all that kind of thing. But yeah, generally the setup costs. Whereas if you've got a solar project, you need to pay an installer or a consultant, depending on the complexity of the project. You need to pay them money to work out what's possible on the site, how much solar you can put on, what you need to raise in terms of money, and all of that kind of thing. So most people kind of start with the energy champions, and it builds the team. It shakes out any of the kind of, you know, it helps them get used to invoicing and having boring stuff like accountants and making sure that they've got a society secretary and running their website and things like that. So they do tend to start with that. But it totally depends. A lot of community energy groups start with a project, like a big school project, and they don't bother with the energy champion side of it. It depends what comes up really and what's available.
Okay, thank you.
There was another hand, Hilda.
Yeah, hi, Kirsty. Thank you for that presentation. You mentioned that the ideal goal would be for these groups to become financially sustainable themselves. What percentage of the groups have you achieved that so far? And then the second question related to funding is kind of your own funding. So you mentioned kind of national lottery funding. I know that kind of goes in 5-year cycles or however many years. So what is your own position in terms of funding?
Well, it's been quite tricky this year because but we've just I think I'm allowed to say we've just signed, well, I won't give you details, but we've just signed a 4-year contract, and some of that money will be coming to the Bedfordshire groups, I believe, for the energy efficiency. And then, of course, GB Energy has apparently got billions to spend on rooftop solar, community energy. Community energy is all over the local power plan, actually, which is really encouraging, and the warm homes plan as well. So we're very much hoping once they kind of get their act together that that there will be the opportunity to tap into that funding. Now, whether we do that or whether we support groups to do that remains to be seen. In terms of capacity building or projects for the borough, I think it's a question of saying, you know, if you came to us and said, look, we've got this roof, we really want to put solar on it, we just can't afford it, could a community energy group do that? And how would we get funding? Then Community Energy Pathways would probably kind of coordinate and support and help you apply for that funding. So it depends on the project and what the groups want to do, obviously, but also it depends what the council wants to do. What's your most pressing objective? Whether you've got the resource. Christina's here, who you know, is working very, very hard, but is kind of a lone resource and trying to cover off everything. So, you know, it's not just about getting the money in for the installation, it's actually about getting the council resource. And that could be the legal team, because I'm sure, you know, with LGR and all the rest of it and cutbacks and what we're hearing from other councils is, you know, the legal team is really strapped, but at some point they're going to have to pay attention to a lease agreement for school solar or solar on your assets. So it's fairly complex, but the first place to start is identify what you'd like to achieve as a climate change committee and what you want to take to council. What resource do you have? What resource do you need? And then have the conversation. How much of it can be done by groups and how much really does need to be done by the council? So so that's a very vague way. And in terms of the sustainable groups that we've got, because we haven't been going that long, we've got lots of groups who are being sustained by grant funding, and we've got groups like Avesco, Besco, Beck. They all have their own projects which bring in income, so they are self-sustaining, but they still apply for grants. Because sometimes the income that they've got, it covers their interest and their running costs, but it doesn't necessarily cover the cost of developing new projects. And it totally depends when they started. If you were beginning of the feed-in tariff, you've got lots of money swishing about probably. If you were late feed-in tariff, maybe not so much. And latterly, it's been with commercial PPAs going down, it's been quite tricky for community energy groups to make ends meet. So yeah, it's been very, very difficult.
So can I just ask one more question? So when it comes to like rooftop assets, for example, so the council has kind of a rooftop and it's their building or whatever. How does it then work with who do the solar panels belong to? Where does the income go? Just to get a feel for how it works.
I'll just run through it very quickly. Yeah, so basically the community energy group will raise the investment from the community. So they will then own and maintain the array and hopefully battery storage as well. They get the export income and they charge the off-taker, so the tenant, the building user, will pay an energy price which will be lower than they would get if they were importing from the grid. And that's always guaranteed. It's usually, it can be variable or it can be set for the lifetime of the project if we've got a reasonable idea of what the likely self-consumption is. And then you have essentially what is a lease agreement. Some people are doing it on a license basis, but these are long-term arrangements. And a community benefit society is asset locked. So like as the council is asset locked. So if anything happened to the community benefit society, they would transfer the asset to a similarly asset locked organization. So that might be the council or it might be the school. But for the duration of the kind of 25-year lease or lifetime, the Community Benefit Society owns and maintains that. Now, often these days, we might have a shorter term, or we might have some break clauses or review periods. So maybe if the school wanted, but yeah, there's not really a scenario where it makes sense for the school to kind of take it over, because they're getting cheaper energy they're saving, or the council, for example. And the smart export guarantee that you get is not fantastic, although sometimes you can get sleeved PPAs, or you can have an energy local club. So there are the revenue streams so that community energy groups can stack it. And if you have a commercial battery on the site, then that improves the self-consumption, so it saves more money for the off-taker, and it makes it better financially for the Community Benefit Society. But it's very much it's a tried and tested model. The leases are causing councils some headaches, but it's just because they're not aware of the forms of words which other councils have used and been comfortable with. So, but all of those templates are out there, and I just ran a session on Friday with Hertfordshire and Essex, and a couple of solicitors about, what do people do about if we need to fix the roof, or what do we do if we need to extend, or what if the trees grow and start shading the array, and all those kind of things. All those things have been experienced by community energy groups and councils before. So but they're often the things where it gets bogged down within councils.
So, and when you say we raise the investment from the community, it's like green bonds, or where people can loan money to the community energy group, or is that the idea? Right.
Yeah, but they become, because it's a community benefit society, it's a form of cooperative. So if they buy a share worth £50, or whether they buy £50,000 worth of shares, they get one vote. So it's one member, one vote, regardless of the size or the number of shares. And they are, they can make decisions on like at the AGM, if the board bring decisions to the membership. So it's very cooperative. It's not, although it functions like a loan because the interest is a cost to the business, it is definitely a cooperative endeavour, and the idea is that it keeps the returns within the community as much as possible. But if it's a really big array, then and you're using ethics or another social impact platform to raise the money, you might have a bond as well. To hang
on, I'm going to interrupt. Lucy, will you take over as chair? I've got somebody come to the door. Be there back in.
Keep going, Kirsty. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. Was there any other questions? Can I put a question to you then, just very quickly, and then we'll move on to the river stuff with Alan. I guess my question to you would be, I'm not familiar, I'm really sorry, with your the climate strategy, apart from my conversation with Christina. What do you think community energy could do for your borough? Putting you on the spot there. Okay, I'll leave you to think about that one. But if you've got some objectives around energy or saving money on energy that could then also tie into climate change. You're the climate change committee, but you're also the environmental resilience committee. You are the energy saving committee. You are the helping our communities get through the freezing cold winters and the boiling hot summers. So it's not necessarily about climate change. It's about a sustainable community, isn't it? So that has lots of commercial sides to it, and supply and demand sides to it. It's not necessarily about just, becoming vegan and wearing shoes made of apples. It does have some practical applications. So, and some of those might relate to your corporate plan, and some of them might relate to your climate change strategy. But community energy can tick a lot of boxes across lots of different areas, because energy is at the root of all of our communities, as we can see. And I'd like to close by saying, thank you, Donald Trump, because you are single-handedly making everybody not want to be on oil and gas anymore. And
thanks, Kirsty.
If you haven't got any more questions, I'll stop waffling.
Oh, but before I hand back to the Mayor, I just want to comment. I think the potential of everything that you've said is huge for the borough, and we should be inspired by the sort of examples you've given us locally, but also, as you suggest, it's about energy resilience, isn't it? We have huge fuel poverty here, and the whole of the world is experiencing the effects of the war in the Middle East and oil prices going stratospheric. We don't know how long this will go on for. This could go on for years. So to be resilient and to have that energy independence with the more renewables and the more community-owned renewables, I think is really important. So it helps to sort of sharpen the focus, hopefully. Can I just add also, I think Christina might want to add any information if she's got, but Kelly's been talking to Christina about a community energy event in Borough Hall on the 29th of April. I don't think it's been publicised yet, but that needs to be publicised, and we all need to pay attention, I think, and hopefully put it in the diary. It's from 4 to 7, Wednesday, the 29th of April.
Yes,
Thank you.
I will. Yes, and I will definitely make sure that you guys get all the information via Kelly. I mean, Kelly will anyway. We're just finalising the speaker schedule and the arrangements, and then we'll do a ticket tailor so people can sign up. Yeah, should be super exciting and very energetic.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Have we got any more comments? Or anybody, I always shut things down too quickly. What I will do is the 29th of April, I will ask Alison if she put that in the minutes, and then do a proper sort of reminder to an email to everybody to remind them about it, because it would be a tragedy if we had it and very few of us turned up. So thank you very much. And I've had a few messages to say thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Really
Thanks
great.
for having me.
Oh, indeed. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you very much. And yes, Lucy's there giving you a nice round of applause. So yes, thank you very much. Okay. I've had 1 or 2 messages while we've been on air. One is to give some apologies. So could we add the apologies? And this is from Mr. Paul Pace. He came home from leave and then has ruptured his Achilles tendon and has spent the whole day in hospital and has got a massive plaster cast on his leg. So he's really in a bad way, in a lot of pain. And Alison, you can't help but smile, but please don't. He's in a lot of pain, and if we could send him our best wishes, but he would be here if he could, but he's not. So we got Mr. Lynch instead, who's going to give us a wonderful report later. Yeah, so right, now we've got river quality next. Because you are very welcome to stay in our meeting, and we love you dearly to stay. River quality and what the work the Borough Council have been doing with river quality and the work we've been doing with our partners. And we have a lovely representative from the BedfordDemocratic people. So Alan, do you want to lead off? Have you got any slides for us, or just
Tom, you can carry on if you like calling me lovely. I'm quite happy with that.
Well, I think you are lovely because you've done such great work. And you're highlighting something that has been in the shade far too long, and I really feel it's really important. And I know other committees of the council are chasing it, but it's very important, and I want to highlight what we're doing as a council. It's something
I
that
think,
we've
Ellie, you've got a PowerPoint there of mine, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
Ellie,
I
you have a
distribute to
PowerPoint, don't
members.
you?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to put that up, and I'll just talk around it, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Just to give everyone some background to where we are, our issues in the river are nitrates, which I don't think anyone in the world can do a great deal about, but they're horrendous. Phosphate levels are very high. Ammonium levels are very high. The PFAS, forever chemicals, this is the 5th worst river in the whole of England for forever chemicals. So we're all going to have to stop using Teflon frying pans. And then, of course, E. coli. The issue with E. coli is a very emotive one, and it's the one that I think we can deal with. The fact that we can deal with it, I'll just talk you through initially the results from February. Can I click this on, or will you do that for me?
I can do that for you, yeah.
If you don't mind, then,
Yeah.
thank you. if you have a look at these, we currently test on 16 sites. We're about to expand that now to 18 sites. But if you look out of those 16 sites, those sites there have E. coli levels which are beyond belief in some cases. Great Barford and Felmersham, greater than 10,000, which is probably about 20 times above safety levels. Radwell, 7 times above safety levels, and so on and so on. Going down to Allen Bridge, strange as it may seem, Allen Bridge, even at probably 10 times above safety levels, was actually recorded as a little bit lower than it normally is. Just give some thought also to the Engineers Bridge. 6,200 E. coli coliforms there, 7 times above safety. It's worth remembering that there is no sewage plant within about 6 or 7 miles of the Engineers Bridge as the crow flies, and probably around about 15 to 18 miles by the river. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about what our next stages are going to look like as well, because having E. coli levels within the town at the Engineers Bridge at a level which is horrendous is very worrying, because there is absolutely no way that we can, at the moment, know where it's coming from. But that's part of our program, our ongoing program. So if you could go on to the next slide, please.
Do you want to just tell us where the Engineers Bridge is? Because although some of us know, some of us might not.
Some of us might know it as the Royal Engineers Bridge. It's on the other side of the embankment, near to the other bandstand. Are we okay with that? But very much embankment area. It's in the town. So what we've been doing is we've increased our involvement with the Environment Agency, and we've been told by the Environment Agency that we are now considered to be the highest level of any charity that is working on the river, a tier 2 level. So we're very pleased about that. We're also very pleased that the Environment Agency do everything they possibly can to work positively with us. So we're very, very pleased about that. Working with the Environment Agency, we have uncovered illegal spills at Bedford and Odell. If anyone read the Times today, you'll see that Anglian Water has been responsible for 1,460 illegal spills during last year. We uncovered illegal spills at Odell, and we uncovered illegal spills at Bedford. And the Environment Agency have confirmed that our methodology in finding these illegal spills has been very good. The only concern we have about Bedford is that they either lied to us or they don't look after their plant, because they said they weren't aware of what they were doing, because apparently the monitor, which is supposed to control the number of illegal spills on dry days, wasn't working for 10 months. So that either means that they're not maintaining their plant or they're not telling us the truth. We know it's one or the other. And obviously, we know that they directly misled the Environment Agency. And I'm pleased to say the Environment Agency are very much aware of it as well. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So Anglian Water, as I just said, have been responsible for illegal discharging over 1,400 times during last year. And they said it was faulty monitoring, as I'm repeating myself there. So it's either deliberate or non-existent maintenance of the plant. We've seen a number of TV programs that also show that water companies have a habit of directly misleading, and they have a habit of not maintaining their plant. Whichever way, it is a very serious issue for Bedford, because it means that they are discharging without any thought whatsoever. I have a meeting planned with Mark Thurston, the CEO of Bedford Borough, and clearly I'll be letting everyone know exactly what's going on. but I'm also talking to him about working with them in some form of joint venture on an outfall safari. And I'll explain that if we go on to the next slide, please. So what we've been able to do with the work that we've done so far is that we've created an impression that has allowed Birmingham University to partner with us. And along with Birmingham University and Imperial College, we're now working together. The very expensive, they're called SONs, they're very sophisticated monitors that we had in Bedford. We donated these to Birmingham University. So even though they're operating still in Bedford, they're owned now by Birmingham University. The reason we're pleased about that is it enables us to join a partnership with Birmingham, but also the maintenance and the upkeep of these very expensive pieces of equipment is down to someone else and not us. We have now an antenna on the roof of Borough Hall. I'm sure a number of you tomorrow will rush up there to have a look at this antenna. It's actually not connected up yet. A guy called Simon Dunning, I think I've got his first name right, is in the process of working with Birmingham to locate and put the electrical supply to that antenna. And along with Birmingham and Imperial College, they're giving us 6 or possibly 8 mini monitors that will actually be able to give us early warnings of spilling on dry days. Now, dry days, strange as it may seem, used to be a calculation of what these dry days were during the preceding years on the same month. I'm pleased to say that one of the few things the government have done recently is that they've actually got the Environment Agency to agree with them that a dry day means a day that doesn't rain. So if we have 2 dry days on the spot and we have an early warning of these spills, they detect turbulence and they detect increased conductivity. It means that with the many volunteers that we have now, we can rush down to the river and take samples. We can get our samples over to our laboratory in Northampton, and we get them over to our laboratory within 3 hours. And the evidence that we have will mean that we can actually give the Environment Agency the evidence they need that Angling Water is dry spilling in Bedford, which they've been doing ad hoc, but it is our intention within the next few months to stop it because it is killing the river. So if you'd like to go on to the next slide, please. So our 26-27 plans have been approved by the Environment Agency. They work very closly with us, and I have to say, we found them to be increasingly very helpful to us. We're increasing our test sites now to 18. We start at Turvey, and now we'll be working our way through all the way to Thamesford on 18 sites, which we do every month. Then we've got 2 other monitors in the river at Odell, above and below the outlet, and we've got the monitors that belong to Birmingham University above and below Priory. And this is going to enable us to do dry day testing. And that is purely sewage. The next point on the slide there is a thing called an outfall safari. It is a principle that's actually been invented or developed by the Zoological Society of London, ZSL. We know, as I mentioned before, the Engineers Bridge, and we have not a clue where the pollution is coming from. And it's E. coli pollution there, so it has to come from sewage of one form or another. There is no evidence whatsoever that we can see on face value anyway where it's coming from. So the principle of outfall safaris is to identify where we believe there are issues in the river where we're recording very high levels of E. coli, but there is no obvious point. And what we're doing with the help of Birmingham University, with the help of Imperial College, and obviously with the help of ZSL, it's going to be a matter of using our kayak and one or two others that are helping us to go up and down the river from the point where we're measuring until we actually find that we're getting clean measurements. And then we're going to work our way down and eliminate and then eventually, hopefully, target exactly where this is coming from. Now, it's likely that it's going to come from broken pipes, poorly designed pipe work, and it could also be illegal spilling. We just do not know where it's coming from, but we're in a position now where we're actually in a financial position. I didn't mention that financially we're actually in very good shape. And that's going to give us the opportunity to ensure that during 26, 27, I think because of the size of the problem, it's going to take us about 2 years to start to map and eliminate and then identify where we think these are coming from. And we're going to be working with the Environment Agency once we've actually found where we think the source of the problem is. The unfortunate thing about this is that there's a lot of it in the town. So if you could move on to the next slide, please. I think that's it. So just a couple of points. We started in about 2023. We had 8 teams. We're currently running 16 teams, and we'll move on to 18 teams. So we'll be covering the 50K of the river between Turvey and Thamesford. And we'll be starting the Thamesford one this Friday. So this week coming, we'll now be in a position to cover the whole of the river. We started off with ourselves and what money we had in our pockets. We've now got 50 volunteers, and so far we've raised about £170,000 in funding. And I'm sure you want me to say, Tom, that the initial funding came from Bedford Borough Council, which it did. Thank you, Lucy, as well, and others that also donated there. Since then, our friends at Brew Point have given us a huge chunk of money. They are big supporters of ours. Garfield Weston continue to be big supporters of ours. National Highways, believe it or not, helped us with a huge chunk of money as well. So we are financially viable. We have enough money to carry our testing program through to the end of next year without raising any more money. As we always do, twice a year, we'll be having a get together at Brew Point, probably in 2 months' time. And as we know, we invite everyone there to give everyone an update and support one of our sponsors, Brew Point. So that's really where we are on the river. I hope I haven't waffled on too long. I just hope that you understand that this is a long job. The unfortunate thing about the river is that it is exceptionally dirty. It is the 19th dirtiest in the whole of England. God forbid being in one of those that are dirtier. But we're getting to grips with it, I think. And I think the fact that the Environment Agency have said that we are the highest level that any consultancy, any charity could be anyway, providing this sort of information, then I think from our point of view and from everyone within us point of view, that's an accolade to say the least. So that's where we are. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm sure there'll be some questions. You did send an email out reminding everybody about their ward funds. So, and I'm sure the ward funds are going to start again soon. But we have our first question while I was rabbiting on. Councillor, do you want to ask your question?
Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Chair. My question, I don't know whether it makes sense or not, but it just come in my mind. The first you said is go high level of nitrates in the river. Can we use that nitrate as a fertilizer or something? Can we use those things?
No. It's the one thing you can't do. The reason it's there is because it's been used for many, many, many years as fertilizer on fields. It's because farmers, that's the way it is, have been encouraged to put nitrates to increase production. And now, of course, we know that the damage that it's caused to our rivers, people are thinking differently now. It's going to take a long time for nitrate levels to fall in rivers. The concern that we should have in Bedford regarding nitrates is that the level of nitrates in Grafham water, where our water comes from, our drinking water, is becoming dangerously high. It's moved from 15 to 30, whatever the calculation is, milligrams per litre or whatever it is, only in 8 years. So that's doubled in 8 years to 30. 50 is the limit to which you're allowed to use it for drinking water. The amount of money that is required to deal with the nitrates in Grafham water is £100 million. That's not something that we're getting ourselves involved in. This is something which I think we all have to be aware of, is that our drinking water in Bedford is under threat because of the level of nitrate and the lack of investment that's taking place over the last 30 years by the water companies. It used to be 30 million 10 years ago, and now it's 100 million. We know very well that what Anglian Water is doing is hoping that the government will just say to them, you have to go ahead, and of course you then charge us. But that's the dilemma that we are finding ourselves with nitrates.
Okay, my second
So
question.
I thought I'd end that by frightening you to death. But it is, joking aside, it is not funny because of the lack of investment. The lack of investment is the reason why we have E. coli in the river. The lack of investment is why we have high levels of ammonia in the river. And that's an indicator of E. coli.
Okay,
Did you have a second question?
Yes, it's like I saw people fishing in the river. We got high level of E. coli, and I asked a couple of people while they're sitting on the river, and I said, "What are you going to do with this?" They goes, "Oh, we're going to take home and cook." So my worry is like if the E. coli is so high, so if they're catching the fishes from there and then go cook it and eat, do you think the E. coli will automatically, because whenever you see in the market, like supermarket, they quickly recall that product. So if the people take home and eat them and they go high E. coli, we should put the ban on the fishing, or for time being.
No. The chief bailiff is now one of our team, and he's very serious about the quality of water in the river. The issue about fishing in the river is that it's a pastime and you can't stop people doing it. Anyone that takes fish out of this river and takes them home to eat has got to be some idiot anyway. None of the fish in this river are the sort of fish that certainly in the United Kingdom we eat. I know that people from Eastern Europe actually do take the fish out of the river. They're welcome to it as long as they cook it through, but I certainly wouldn't.
That's fine. Thank you, Helen.
No problem at all.
And Hilda's next. Councillor Hilda.
Yeah. Hi, Alan. And
Hi there.
you mentioned so that it's the Great Ouse is one of the, well, it's exceptionally dirty. You said, is the area around Bedford worse than other parts of the Great Ouse, or do you not know?
We help people upstream now in Buckinghamshire. We help people downstream in Cambridgeshire. We help them to get themselves going, and they're recording as well. The answer to that really is that all rivers in the United Kingdom are dirty. It's very simple. They are all dirty. There's a lot of nitrates in them because it's a historical thing. But the issue with E. coli in the river, which obviously affects human health, is a scandal. And it's a scandal that's been going on for many years. Anglian Water are the third worst. Southwest Water are the worst. Thames Water, the second worst. And what we have to do is everything that we possibly can to actually catch them doing it and to get them prosecuted.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Have we got any other questions? Oh, we've got one more, Lucy. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bywater.
Thank you, Alan. Huge thank you to you and all your volunteers. It's fantastic how you've managed to build up so many people and such experts with quality equipment. It is really terrifying. I'm sure lots of people will have watched Dirty Business series recently on Channel 4. And for anyone who wasn't already aware, then hopefully that's flagged. It's really a public health crisis. I wanted to ask actually, but it's a question for the Mayor as well about I think it was called the Water Management Alliance. Has that made progress? Is that still meeting? And if so, where are the minutes? Because I know that's not just about water quality, it's about flooding as well, I believe. But yeah, could we have some more information, please?
Okay, yeah, sure thing. I think BedfordDemocratic did come to the meeting and come to the meeting regularly.
We do.
And we had a separate meeting to talk about the problems with pollution in the river. Yes, I'll ask about the minutes. We have an independent chair who was head of the Environment Agency, which gives it nationally, which gives it edge. It meets in the Borough Council committee rooms, but it is independently chaired because I wanted to make sure that it was well led and something that would carry on for many years. So yeah, I'll sort out the minutes. I don't know where they are, but they should be available. I don't know if you want to comment. The BedfordDemocratic wants to comment, but I think that committee is doing great work because it's forcing people to attend. So certainly the Highways Agency and others to attend and to actually talk and to be responsible.
Yeah, I think it's a fair comment. I think one of the things that I suppose we're finding is that the more people there that are very close to issues with the river, the better it is as far as we're concerned, because we have the ability to. I don't like the idea of just driving ourselves on without looking about what's alongside us. So there are people there from UBOC, and we've stolen one of their top people, and he's working with us now on the evolution of the way in which we're going to do our testing. And he'll be working alongside us and Birmingham University to develop these mini, they're monitors, but they're called mini sons. So rather than getting ourselves very heavily involved in very expensive equipment, obviously, because as a charity, we don't want to do that, he's coming along and he's helping us to actually develop this with the help of the antenna. I suppose a lot of you tomorrow will be desperate to get onto the roof, won't you, of the Borough Hall, just to have a look at our antenna, have a word with Simon, just to say to him, it's about time he connected it up. And I know there are issues with that. That's not a criticism of Simon Dunning, by the way. He's been a great help. Yes. But, the issue we've got there with the alliance is that we're finding that individuals that are doing things and have been doing things environmentally, there is value add from us sitting and listening and working with them.
Yeah. Councillor Gribble, you've had a question for a while.
Yeah, it's more of a comment, actually. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, a couple of comments. Firstly, if I can come back to Fauzia and your question. As long as the fish are cooked, Fauzia, E. coli is rendered harmless as long as it's cooked through to a decent temperature for the time. However, cooking will not do anything about, for example, heavy metals, microplastics, etc., that may or may not be in the fish. And on another point, I was speaking at an event last week, and one of the speakers was a lady from Anglian Water, where we did learn about the nitrate levels in Graffham water. So as far as I recall, the water from Graffham is actually abstracted at St Neots. It seems that the only way to reduce nitrate levels is by dilution. So coupled with climate change as well, very dry summers, we will undoubtedly see higher nitrate levels. And interestingly, again, every action has a consequence. The amount of AD plants, anaerobic digestion plants, that are now in the area around Graffham water has increased significantly in the last sort of 8 to 10 years. So that has got to have an effect on leachate going into probably straight into Graffham, to be fair. So you know, we have the drive obviously with food waste. It's converted to fertilizer. It's drilled into the ground.
Yeah.
And then we can only surmise that it's finding its way into our water courses and increasing the level of nitrates. So just a comment really, and it appears the only way to do it is to reduce it is by dilution.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, Nicola.
Councillor Bywater.
You're welcome, Fawzia.
Thank you, Councillor Gribber. Yeah, absolutely agree with what you're saying about climate change exacerbating things on several levels. But going back to the issue about eating the fish, I think there's a wider public health issue about people who use the river for water sports, something we're very proud of in the borough. You know, all sorts of water sports and swimming. A lot of people still are bathing, and I have a friend who bathes at Great Barford several times a week, and she's a health professional. I have warned her about the figures, and I care about her deeply, and I am worried that she will become sick.
She doesn't care, I'm sure. They don't. She's one of the blue tits, I'm assuming.
She is one of those groups with an animal name.
Yes, that's
but
right.
It's a
They're
question.
called the blue tits. Delightful
It's a question
people.
of, yeah, when you become not complacent, because it's not their responsibility. They should have the right to feel, you know, the real benefit of swimming in their local river. But if you get E. coli, as people saw on the effects of the Dirty Business, which was dramatized about a child who drowned, who died having being exposed to E. coli in Dawlish. I think she was primary school age, really shocking. And it's just a wake-up call. So it does make me think, sorry to mention this, but about the River Festival. And are we confident of, we all love the River Festival, are we confident that the water is safe for users? You know, lots of people will be using the river who don't normally. And I love to see that happen, but it's a real concern that it's not safe.
I'm really pleased that that's a decision that I don't have to make. It's a decision that Tom will probably have to make. But I have to say that there are parts of the river, Great Barford, people swim in it. It's a beach. It is very dirty. And at Felmisham, with the help of the local council, they put up signs to say it is unsafe to bathe here. And they were all taken down and thrown away. And then people went straight back into the river. So you can't stop people doing it. They do. I think the only thing, personally, I think the only thing you can do is to say to people, if you get ill, it's your problem.
Yeah. Councillor Spice, you indicated.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered, has any communication gone to the schools or the rowing clubs, or the community groups that we know that use the river actually in the water, or is that sort of down to them? I don't know if ever, probably as a borough council, I imagine we haven't, but I'm just wondering, Alan, as whether within your group you have reached out, because I would imagine that users or user leaders aren't aware of the levels. I know a few years ago when my son used to do rowing from school, and he, whatever you call it, capsized, fell in, whatever the term is, the letter home was, please make sure he drinks an incredible amount of Coke tonight because it will kill anything that he might have swallowed. I was like, what? But that was as good as it got for a warning. And I feel like we have an obligation. I don't know, Jane, whether it's through the schools, whether we can do it, or whether, Nikki, it's through environment that we write out to all the groups, the user groups, and just give them a heads up, because I wouldn't want us to have the information and they don't know.
Well, the information that we put out is put out on our website, so it's open. It's open to everyone. We place it on the website every month as we finish. As soon as it comes out of the details come out of our laboratory in Northampton. It shows very high levels on 6 or 8 sites last time I showed you them earlier on. It is a concern. What I do know is that one of the both Star and Kayak we've spoken to, whether they've spoken to their people or not, but we do have some feedback from Kayak who have offered to help us on our outfill safari, because it will require people to go up and down the river. So from that point of view, we're rather pleased that they're taking us seriously. Whether that message is getting through to people, I don't know. You know, there is, from our point of view, there is a limit to what we, I think, want to do as well, because you know, our focus has to be on highlighting exactly the state of the river and what can be done about it, as opposed to warning people.
Thank you for that. That's a good point. Jane, you had a question.
Yeah, no, it's not a question. It's just an answer to Andrea. I mean, we do have a schools newsletter that goes out every term. We could put it in that, but I think it's probably more the private schools that use it, isn't it? Which they don't get that newsletter, but we could, I'm sure we could do something. It's just we want to be careful with, we do want to warn them, but I don't think we want to scare them off from doing their exercise. Just got to be careful they go home and shower afterwards, I suppose, that sort of thing. Or drink Coke.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that one.
No, not really.
I've heard that same story a couple of times about if you fall in, drink a whole large bottle of full fat Coca-Cola. It's got so much sugar and chemicals in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's just a layman's recipe. I think we need something a bit more modern than that.
But let me know if you want something going in. I can organise that.
Okay, I think I'm looking around. I think that's about it on questions. Well, thank you very much. I'm really pleased, Alan, that you came along, and I think you're at the Environment Committee as well next, quite soon as well. This is something we're really keen on, something we're trying to back, something we're trying to help you with, and the ward funds and all that sort of stuff should come in handy, and see what we can do to help, because I think every councillor is really keen on this, and I'm really pleased that another round of applause from Councillor Bywater. So she's good.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you.
No, and thank you for what you do and your citizen scientists who have making a big difference. Right. Agenda item number 7 is the events team, who Mr. Lynch is going to take us through to receive a report on the uses of energy, water, management of waste, council organised events. So copy enclosed. Far away, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you, Mayor Tom. Good evening, everyone. So just a quick summary, really. This report provides an overview on how the council manages key environmental and operational aspects of its outdoor event programme. And in the report, we particularly focus on water supply, energy provisions and waste management. The report summarises our current practices, some recent improvements that we've made, and some planned initiatives ahead of the 2026 outdoor event season, including obviously the Bedford River Festival. As a team, we continue to prioritise the use of existing infrastructure, in-house delivery and temporary solutions to ensure events are delivered safely, efficiently and sustainably as possible. Ongoing work is focused on reducing single-use waste, improving where possible recycling performance, and exploring lower emission energy options for our events where required. After the River Festival 2026 event, which is coming up, I feel we'll be in a much better position to analyse data and look at measures on how we continue to drive performance. Increasing our education presence to promote schemes such as the simpler recycling should help us move this forward. So some of the efficiencies we're looking to explore as we develop our event management plan for the River Festival include using battery packs for stages for standby powered rather than the generators, and also load sharing those critical points overnight with those battery pack solutions. That is all I had in terms of the report, and at this stage, myself and Matt welcome any questions.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I understand Mr. Pace would have been here, but he's in absolute agony, so I've been told. So is there any questions for Mr. Lynch? I'm sure people will think of questions when they're done. Oh, Lucy, I spoke too soon. Councillor Bywater.
Thank you. Thank you, James. The River Festival is at the end of my road, and so I've always had a particular interest in it and the after effects of it as well.
Yep.
It's really good to see over the years that I've lived here the improvements that have been made. And so, you know, reduction in generators is really good. And efforts at reuse is really good as well. But in terms of carbon emissions, is there any data, and will there be any data going forward? Because you said about measuring to go forward, measuring outcomes and successes and trying to create a sort of strategy. Is there past data that can show us that the carbon emissions are being reduced?
Thank you, Lucy. So we are starting to measure how much fuel we're using, diesel, HVO, whichever it would be. We have got that for 2024 and we will have it for 2026. So yeah, there is an ongoing improvement that we're looking to make, and we're hoping obviously with those efficiencies and using the battery packs that we'll be bringing that down. We're also looking at the overall footprint of the event and seeing where we can minimize the number of generators and make sure they're being used to maximum capacity and efficiency. So if we can move things around, we'll try and do that to minimize it and bring it down. But in answer to your question, yeah, we will start to have data. So I'm fairly confident after this particular river festival, technology's increased and it's got better. So we're going to have much more data on our usage. Now that's just what we hire in and what we use in terms of generators and lighting towers. It's not the wider scheme, if you like, in terms of how people attend the event and what methods of transport they use and that type of thing.
Thank you, because my other question was going to be about a sort of travel plan, because I do remember before there were encouragements for people to use public transport. Is there any sort of data on that, on how successful that was last time? I sort of remember some problems with buses, but I can't remember exactly what the problems were.
So we are working with our sustainable transport team to try and get more data in terms of how much people are using public transport, like the buses, compared to conventional using our car parks or the car parks around the town. At the moment, I don't have anything, Lucy, but I am pushing, and we are as a team pushing to have more data available for us on that particular topic.
Thank you, because it's quite a nice walk from the train station as well along the river, isn't it? So getting more people from further afield, because we know people come from very far afield. It's the biggest free festival in the country, I think, or it was. Maybe it's not anymore. Thank you, James.
Thank you, James. Councillor Hilda.
Yes, so my question was also about the travel plan, actually, because thinking about events like that, the greatest environmental impact, and especially looking at greenhouse gas emissions, comes from the travel. So the travel probably kind of dwarfs all the other emissions that are related to the event. So I would really encourage kind of the team to look at putting travel plans together and measuring the impact and thinking about active travel, etc. The other question I wanted to ask was about, so you in the report somewhere it says that you're deterring traders from single-use plastic, using single-use plastic. Yeah. I mean, to what extent is that enforced or policed, or how is that going?
So thank you for the question. In that, we've got an event management team that work the whole weekend. We engage with all the traders, so we'll do some spot checks. Also, we have our environmental health team who are also aware of this. So if they obviously spot anything, they will feed that back to us as the event management team. Obviously, if they're there and they've set up and obviously they're not adhering to our requirements, it's very difficult to stop them trading in that sense, but we wouldn't allow anyone back the next time if they're not adhering to our policy. So that's basically the way that we do it. But we've got a team of people that will be going around, and we have to engage with all these traders, not only just for that aspect, but it's to make sure that everything is right. There's no safety concerns with the way they've set up. So that's how we kind of enforce that.
Thank you.
Have we got any other questions, Ms. Lynch, or any comments anybody wants to make? Well,
I'll just, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, James. Thank you for this report. I think I would just like to comment that I'm really grateful, and as Lucy has referred to, we have seen the changes and the improvements that have been made at the River Festival and our other events too, over the years, as we all learn more and more is available. But thank you for being a strong voice on pushing this forward for our events.
Thank you.
And thank the team. So yes,
Yep.
Thanks very much. Right, I've got no more from Mr. Lynch. We have our last item on the agenda, which is agenda item number 8, the work programme. And Lucy had something to start off with the work programme with our questions early on. And I'd like it if we could sort of go round and sort of anybody got anything else. So Councillor Bywater, if you want to start.
Yes, it was just what I mentioned at the beginning about scope 2 and 3 emissions from commercial buildings owned by the council, because the council in the past has done good things with many of the buildings it occupies, such as Borough Hall, but commercially leased buildings, I'm not aware of how much work is being done on that and how much ambition there is. So that would be really good to have a report on.
Okay. Has anybody got any other business they want to put on? I'm biased. I quite like that GoVed report. I'd quite like a sort of another one, but we probably sort of want to wait this time next year, or certainly 6 to 7 months, to see how the summer went. But I do like those sort of that water quality, but it's covered in other reports, isn't it? So other committees. So has anybody got anything else they want to shove onto the agenda, or speak to Alison afterwards? Send her a nice email. Okay, I'm getting loads of shakes of heads. I don't think I'm doing very well here. Well, that is the last item on the agenda. Lucy and the rest of them and Hilda normally bring me up with loads of stuff that they want to put on the agenda. But Alison, is there anything else I should add, or anything else you want to comment on?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, the next meeting, just to note, is on the 22nd of June. So if there are any suggestions, you can email Ellie or myself.
22nd of June is the next meeting. And can I take a poll? Does everybody like it online, or do they want to have it in-house and actually have face-to-face?
Online, please.
Online.
Okay,
Online,
well, that's
please.
2 votes. So I think that's 3, 4. Okay, I have to ask because, you know, what I don't want to do is to, you know, dictate to anybody. But sometimes, you know, once a year would be nice if we all got together. But the next meeting is on the 22nd of June, and it will be virtual like this one, Alison. So if you could take that forward and remind everybody, and you remain open for any agenda items you want to put on, and anybody wants to come through to us, we'd like to hear them. Okay. Well, that being no further ado, I think, Alison, thank you very much, and thank you all the councillors that have taken part. At about 10 to 8, I think it's time we went. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.